What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for the Rising of the Shield Hero Season 4. This is episode 4, I think. With me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we're finally picking up on that duel. That what was it? I think that Juralis accepted in fighting Fallen Outlaw. Um, so of course, Juralis is fighting alongside this giant Minotaur demi-human who's um, it's more of like a tag team sort of duel, but the Minotaur is mainly fighting Outlaw, while Juralis is fighting Full. But we get to learn more about Juralis and who he really is. He's basically like, I think my best comparison for Juralis is that he's a combination of the Cowardly Lion and Scar from Lion King.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that. He, I mean, well, yeah, because of like what we learned about him. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say he's necessarily like cowardly because so in the flashback scene, like him and these soldiers are like kind of pinned down, and I guess like they were going to make like one last like desperate rush forward to confront the enemy, and Juralis was going to lead them. But before they could do that, reinforcements being led by
Okay, actually, what happened was he sends them out to charge against the enemy, but he decides to to abandon the front lines, just to let them die out. Uh,
Mhm.
and of course, what was it? Fallen Outlaw's father arrives to reinforce the army, which of course doesn't sit well with Juralis, and which of course it leads to his jealousy, uh, leading him to pretty much revealing that he murdered uh Full's father out of jealousy.
So well, that's the thing too. Like, so was he jealous of the fact that their father showed like kind of like I guess one upped him or something? Like he showed up
Yeah, that's
and like was is considered like I guess the hero, and Juralis like was going to I don't know, like I guess we're to assume he would have gone back, like if he is like a coward, like he would have had his men like I guess like charge forward and kill themselves while he like ran off or something, and
yeah.
said that he was like a hero or something, and he valiantly tried to fight for his homeland or whatever. Like I don't know, maybe that's what his plan was,
Yeah, that's
and then like
and
and then I guess their father like kind of ruined that.
yeah, it kind of ruined his plan of wanting to be viewed as the hero. But with Full and Outlaw's father gaining more credibility on the battlefield, it pretty much pushes Juralis to the point where he pretty much literally stabs him in the back and kills him, while he pretty much gets away scot free. And and of course it gets us back to the present day, in which both Outlaw easily overcomes like the giant Minotaur demi-human, while uh Full like is fighting one-on-one against Juralis. But um he's capable of defeating Juralis, but Juralis keeps using like a lot of these underhanded tactics against Full, by like using variety of weapons. He even tried poisoning uh Full during the fight as well.
Yeah, like he had I guess some kind of poison blades on his arms.
Yeah.
um and but yeah, Full at first, like I don't I don't know how, but I guess I don't know if it's through like sheer willpower or something, like he somehow overcomes the poison, because he's still able to fight even though he's poisoned. And now Fumi like points out like he's somehow like I guess just overcame the fact that he was poisoned.
Yeah.
uh so yeah, so he's still able to fight. um and then Juralis eventually uses some kind of like he's able to like transform into like a
It's
full
full on
beast, or
lion
like
form.
lion form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, we also he also reveals to Full that he's the one. He admits that he ended up killing his father out of jealousy, which which in a way it like motivated Full to you know to easily overcome the poison and fight against Duralis one on one. But one,
Yeah,
yeah,
and we also see a little bit more of like what happens to Full and Atla like after the I guess the news came back of their father's death. Um because like the last thing that Full's father said to him was to try, basically like take care of his mother and his sister. Um and I guess like we're not exactly sure like how the mother died, but like we're to assume I guess that she's dead. So Full and Atla are just kind of left to fend for themselves, and that kind of explains like how they ended up in the fighting in the Coliseum in season 3, and how Atla like ended up in her condition.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, we actually like kind of get to know like what happened with them.
yeah. So eventually, well, of course, after Duralis takes on his giant lion form, it gets he starts overwhelming Full with his power, but you know of course, with Full, being more determined to defeat Duralis to avenge his father, he ends up transforming himself, I guess, into a more powerful version of his white tiger form.
Yeah, so now he just like he looks like I guess just a full like yeah like just completely like a tiger person, just like a tiger almost like just standing up on his hind legs I guess, instead of like sort of like a half human half tiger hybrid person. uh but yeah, that's kind of where we end things off. So I mean, uh I guess like I mean I think the standout thing in this episode was it did seem like the animation was pretty good for the most part, because this is just mostly like a fight scene with Atla and with also with Full and Duralis. And I mean it looked pretty good for for most of what we saw of it. And I mean also like we got to learn a little bit more about like what happened with Duralis, and get more about him. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a pretty good episode for the most part. It definitely was a little bit better than the last, well, like really the last few episodes, because at least something's, yeah, I guess finally happening. But I mean now Fumi says like while this is happening like that you're definitely gonna get me that ship to Qtenlo after this is over. So I guess one way or another he's still is probably gonna get his ship. Uh, but yeah, I thought, like I said, I thought it was a pretty good episode. I mean, I'm just hoping that, like, I mean, the pacing has kind of, I feel like, consistently been somewhat of an issue, at least since season 1 of Shield Hero. But it seems like I mean, I did kind of complain it started out a little bit slow at first, but I do hope that it kind of at least maintains, I guess I would say, like a consistent pace throughout the season, as opposed to like trying to go, like go through certain arcs too fast, or anything like that. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say about the episode though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I thought it was like one of the better episodes of the season. Finally, with the first 3 episodes just being just ridiculously slow, with a lot of, I guess, a lot of attempted world building, and of course a lot of conversations like leading up to this point. But yeah, I'm finally glad that they finally got us back to the action, and gave us a little bit more backstory with Vol and Atla for the first time, and
I
since they were introduced back in season 3.
Yeah, this whole arc seems to almost be like the Full and Atla arc. And I mean, I'm wondering if this is like all just going to culminate in the whatever's like their relationship is with the King of Malramark,
Yeah,
and that's like where this is headed.
yeah. It seems like the next episode might end up concluding Full and Atla's story arc for this one before
Yeah.
finally getting back to Cutenlo to get us back to Raftalia's story arc.
Yeah. Yeah, because like this, I mean, it's funny how like yeah, the last season ended and it felt like we were going to get into a story arc where the focus was kind of back on Raftalia, but it's like yeah, now the focus is like kind of not on her. It's like Full and Atla, but I don't really mind that. I do feel like we need, like, especially with all the characters that have been introduced, like we kind of need certain story arcs to sort of like develop each of these characters, because like there's just like that's kind of the problem, is that, like, that's another problem I see with like Shield Hero, especially like in, I would say, like season 3 and also season 4, is that like we have all these characters that have been introduced since, well, season 2 as well, I guess. Like they've started introducing all these other characters, and we don't really know much about any of them so far. So I mean, we have gotten some about some of the side characters, but then there's a lot of them that just have like, this, we don't know anything about them. So
Yeah,
I mean, I am glad we're getting something about, like, Fallen Atla, for instance. But then there's also, there's also, I mean, we know a little bit about her, but then there's characters like Sedina. Like we don't really know a lot about her. I mean, we know some things, but
yeah. I mean, well,
she doesn't really.
we know Sedina is more of a bodyguard for Raftalia and her family.
Yeah,
But as in particular for Fallen Outlaw, like, yeah, it's great that we're finally getting a little bit more backstory with them. In terms of backstory,
well,
I remember, well, like for season
and
3,
the other thing too is, like, now Fumi also has that whole village with all these other characters too that we know next to almost like nothing about.
yeah.
Um,
There's speaking of backstory, there's still a little bit more backstory we have yet to learn with the other 3 heroes. I
I know, also, just another thing, like, speaking of which, like, there's also Eclair, which she also, from what you told me, like the last couple seasons, like she kind of got sidelined as well.
Yeah,
With her
well,
character.
she was supposed to have like a notable backstory of like how she ended up joining up with Naofumi's village. It's more or less something to do with, like, it being more of an outcast, before Naofumi arrived, as the shield hero. And apparently, like, he recruited her to, I guess, regain her reputation of sorts. It's a lot to go by, but it's a major storyline that, of course, that unfortunately got cut back in season 2.
Yeah. But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.